Let's discuss these and other issues now. Gift of the Givers founder, Dr. Imtiaz Sooliman, joins us to unpack further. A very good afternoon to you, Dr. Imtiaz, and thank you for your time with us here on the SABC at this hour.
Well, good afternoon, Lisa. Thank you.
Merry
Christmas to everyone. Though it's a little late.
It's okay. Thank you so much. Wishing you all the best for the festive season as well. Perhaps as we shine a spotlight on the Middle East and your ongoing humanitarian efforts, which obviously follows the UN resolution calling for unrestricted access to those who are delivering humanitarian aid 80 days in. What are you witnessing? What's coming to the fore at this time?
Well, it's not what I'm witnessing. It's what we get feedback from our teams inside Gaza. Because as you know, from outside, nobody can get in.
Yes.
We've managed to deliver 3 truckloads of aid, went in around the 13th of December. It took 20 days for those trucks to get in. You know, at the height of the ceasefire, they were waiting in the queue. The ceasefire ended, and it took a long time to get in, but it's got into various areas, distributed. Unfortunately, can't move to the north because it's a no-go area, and there's hundreds of thousands of people trapped in the north who require support. They call us, they say they require food, they require water, they require medical care, but the team just can't get there. One is because of the high risk of severe bombing. Secondly, the damage to the roads. Thirdly, not enough vehicles. And fourthly, no fuel. So it's impossible to get to the areas. In fact, even they were in Khan Yunis, they now have to all move to Rafah and can only operate from there. It's almost impossible to work from anywhere else inside Gaza. But having said that, you know, for 60 days, we managed to buy supplies inside Gaza. Our teams went from place to place at very, very high risk to get goods. And at day 60, there was nothing to purchase anymore. And at that time, the 3 trucks came in with support. And right now, we've loaded today 7 more trucks of supplies to go in, just waiting for our permission to be in the queue. But I don't know how long that's going to take to get inside again.
Dr. Imtiaz, speaking about reports that you are receiving, there was also a delegation recently made up of some South Africans who visited Bethlehem. I wonder if you could share the significance of that at this time, but also in engaging with different stakeholders. Is there hope that a permanent solution will be found? What's been echoed on that front?
Well, the first part is mostly it was Reverend Frank Chicana, Dean Michael Wieder from St. George's Cathedral, and a whole lot of other church leaders from different parts of the country. You know, we were in consultation with them. We had helped actually arrange flights at discounted rates for them. We even contributed towards a trip for some of the members to go. We thought this was a very, very significant journey to be in Bethlehem around Christmas. They had very good dialogue. They saw for themselves. They saw the difficulties that what people challenged. They experience apartheid, you know, in its true sense inside Bethlehem and getting to Jerusalem. They were on their way to Jordan. They tried to get to Egypt. I don't think that was successful. I know they're on the way back, but they had very good engagement with the church leaders on the other side. Those church leaders were very, very happy to see a delegation come from the outside to join them in their sadness, in their loneliness, you know, and when, especially recently when the Israeli army affected 54 disabled people, shot members of a church, blockaded the church, and took away people that nuns and all, up till now, nobody knows where they are. So at this point, the reverends were very happy to see a delegation, especially from South Africa. And of course, they're associated with South Africa because of our apartheid past. So it was more a moral boost for the people on the other side in terms of the leaders of the churches on that side and for the public to see a delegation come. And it was also a lesson, a teaching for the delegation that went from South Africa to see firsthand, to experience the crisis and the extent of what's going on. Of course, this is in the West Bank. They couldn't see what's going on in Gaza, which is a total nightmare. But they got feedback from the people on the West Bank side. In terms of a ceasefire, nobody knows. In the United Nations, they play games all the time. You know, countries want a ceasefire. It's always America with its money and its veto, always blocking the process. And in that way, more and more people die. In the last 3 days alone, or in the last 2 days, I think more than close to 400 people have been killed, and not killed, murdered by the Israeli occupation forces.
Dr. Imtiaz, I wonder if there's an update on Ahmed Abbasi's family. How are they doing? How are they coping after him and his brother, of course, died? What's also emerging on that front?
Well, the day it happened, you know, I just come out of theater. And immediately my concern was his family, his wife, his 3 children, and 30 family members who were staying in the apartment. A few days before he was murdered, he took a decision that he's not going to move from place to place to how the Israeli occupation forces instruct you to go, and then they bomb you as you go along. So he decided he's going to die in dignity, went in the apartment, stayed in the apartment with his family in Gaza City, more towards the north. And the next, 3 days later, on the morning of the 16th, on his way back from morning prayer, we know the story that both his brother and himself were bombed and murdered. And our instant worry was what's going to happen to the family. Fortunately, the teams that were close by managed to take the wife, the 3 children, and 30 family members away to the south. There's no home now, no shelter, in between refugee camps. If you have somewhere you can stay, you stay, otherwise you stay in an open area. But compared to the Gaza City, in inverted commas, they say they're relatively safe. But of course, food is a challenge, water is a challenge, clothing is a challenge, heat is a challenge. It's winter, there's no gas, no electricity, it's a challenge. But to answer your question, we've moved them, and for now they're alive. Unfortunately, one of our team members, Aya Jabbar, 100 of her family members were murdered. 50 before she spoke in Cape Town to a group of journalists. The next 2 days later, her stepfather was killed. Actually, he was shot by a sniper as he came out of his house. And the next day, the apartment where the rest of her family members, her mother, the mother's sisters, brothers, children, cousins, 50 of them were directly hit by Israeli missile, and all 50 of them died. So for her, it's still been a very tough time. She just can't get over that at the moment.
Thank you for that update, Dr. Imtiaz. I know Gift to the Givers has been involved in a number of other projects and negotiations. In fact, I also wanted to just bring to the fore the negotiated release of Gerco van Deventer. We believe that he was left at the border between Mali and Algeria, and now we understand that he's been spending the past few days reconnecting with his family members. How is he keeping at this point?
Well, the last part we don't get involved in. The captors always tell us, we've been doing this from 2013, and they tell us that the last part you can't be part of. It's between governments and state securities between different governments. In this case, it was Algeria and South Africa. The hostage is released, taken in this case to Algeria, passed on to South Africa, and then he was brought home. He was brought home a few days ago, and then the family wants some privacy, so we've respected that. I mean, they haven't seen the husband and the father for 6 years and 1 month. So we understand right now they want to be, private. The wife sent me a message to say he's home. We're spending a few days together, and and they will discuss later on if they want to speak to the media. We've respected that. We've said we're just grateful that this ordeal of 6 years and 1 month is over. But I'm extremely grateful to my hostage negotiator, Mohammed Yahya Diko, who spent several years going up and down to Mali to achieve what we achieved finally on the 13th of December to secure the unconditional release of Gerco van Deventer.
Dr. Imtiaz, even closer to home, I know that one of your members, Ali Sableh, was voted SA Champion of the Year. Perhaps you could speak to that, but also shining a spotlight on hunger and malnutrition, which has been widespread and a deadly problem in some parts of the Eastern Cape. And, there's also been growing calls to declare the province food insecurity and disaster. Would you support these calls, and talk to the work that you'd also been doing on that front?
Well, we had exposed this in 2020 already. We had announced it at that time, during the time of COVID. When we got to Pedi in June 2020, we said children were eating grass. The one mother who came and collected a food parcel said, ask my children, they will tell you the taste of every type of plant in this area, because we haven't had food for months. And we started intervening at a larger scale. Yes, we were doing, because of lockdown and job losses and hunger, we were rolling out food parcels throughout the country. But in Eastern Cape, it was the biggest amount of food parcels we rolled out, hundreds of thousands. And we supported close to 50 feeding centers. And up till now, we're even supporting those feeding centers and expanding them because of the hunger. In February this year, or late last year, actually before this, we found severe malnutrition at the hospitals, at the clinics. Children were coming in very late, severely ill, and many of them died. And we intervened with highly nutritious food products. Our company sponsored 25 million men worth of high-energy food products, which we used for the children, and in later cases, even adults were hungry. Then, subsequently in this year, we saw that level of hunger increasing. In August 6th, which coincides with our 31st anniversary of Gift of the Givers, we on that same day, a mother killed her 3 children and hung herself. And everybody in the community tells you it's because of hunger. She put Retex in the food for the 2 younger ones. She ran out of food, so she couldn't put Retex on the bigger one. So she stabbed the bigger one in the neck and killed her. And then she hung herself. And we then investigated and went into the place called Tobelo Village. And as we went house to house, we found so much of hunger in the areas. So many houses had only children, no adults. And the children were sitting there with absolutely nothing to eat. And then we went to some houses where there were only an old lady left with the last cabbage. So we intervened in all those villages. And, we've expanded our feeding in the area. It's of course, the Human Rights Commission have seen it. Other media teams have gone in to investigate after we've spoken about this. We've been speaking about this for 3 years now. And what we've noticed, it's not restricted to the Eastern Cape only. Right now, you spoke of Ali. Ali has been a gem with his team, in Cape Town. On the weekend of the 15th, 16th, and 17th, which was a long weekend, they were involved in fires. It's supposed to be a long weekend. This Christmas weekend, right now as I'm talking to you, they're busy distributing fires. They give up their holidays. They strive, himself and his team, or ever ready, always available to serve people in the most distinctive manner. Ali was involved in the Eastern Cape also. He takes care of that area to a large extent too. But coming back to the hunger, Ali started reporting to me that when he was going to the fires, last year at exactly the same time, there were fires in Cape. We responded to 8 fires in Cape between end of December and beginning of January. This year, in this 3 weeks, we've already responded to 13 fires. And when we go to the fires previously, people would wait or a flood or tornado, whatever it may be, some kind of disaster. But people would say, when can we get building material? Now they don't say that anymore. For the last 2 years, they tell us, please, food. When can we get the food? When can we get the food? And we were a little baffled by that because they never told us that before. And then when you investigate, you realize the hunger was there and it was a disaster before the fire or the flood or the tornado. And then we said, okay, if the ones caught up in a disaster are hungry, what about the ones not in the disaster? Aren't they hungry too? So we checked next door and we found equal hunger. And all you have to do, Lisa, is just watch the children eat. When you see them eat, you can understand the level of hunger in the area. So now with all the disasters, we feed not for 3 days anymore. We go between 5, 7, and 10 days, to help the people get over and get some stuff. There's intense hunger. It's not only in the Eastern Cape.
Dr. Imtiaz, as we conclude, amidst the devastating news that emerged for the year of 2023, there's a saying that says we must always look for those who are helping, and that obviously gives us a semblance of hope. And so given the year that was, what are you looking forward to the most for 2024? What's your message to South Africans also?
You don't know when a disaster can hit you. You don't know. Look, let's go back. Let's not talk from philosophical things. Let's talk from COVID. COVID ended people's businesses, their lives, their income, their family situation overnight. A family would lose a wife, a husband 3 days later, a grandfather's 2 days later, a sister another 2 days later. Overnight, people were completely healthy, were gone. The entire family unit broke. Then you had companies that shut down overnight, and people who were working for 30 years lost their jobs. They knew no other job. They knew no other means of income. They only knew that job they did it for 30 or 35 years, and suddenly it was all gone. People who were well off lost their homes, their cars, their kids were in private school, they had to take them out, and they came and said, please, can you give me a food parcel? So the point is, situations can change overnight. Me, you can't impose this on anyone, but I'm a strong believer in faith. We have to have the faith, and we've got to have hope. Hope and positivity only comes from faith. But in the process, do good to wherever you can. Whatever little it may be, just continue doing good. That's a source of blessing. We call it barakah. Barakah is an Islamic term meaning that when you do things sincerely, God takes care of you. Yes, He will give you challenges. He will test you. The things won't be easy. It won't come overnight, but eventually you will come through. And wherever we can help, start off with your family first. That's all the scriptures teach you. Family first, then the neighbors, then somebody further away. Let's go all out to help whoever we can in whatever way. To corporate companies, please don't cut jobs. It's very immoral when a company says things are tight and then the MD and the CEO gets a huge bonus and a huge package, and so many thousands of jobs are cut, and those people made your company grow to where it was because they served you with distinction. So let's save jobs and let's create jobs for the youth also. For message next year, create jobs for the youth, save the existing jobs, expand your company, take more people in. Let's return to faith and spirituality, help your family, your neighbors, and just do whatever good you can. Whether it's to teach maths, whether it's to help an old man on the road, whether it's to give a wheelchair, let's give it. We have that spirit as South Africans, and that's a spirit that will bring back into our country.
Dr. Imtiaz, thank you for your time with us on the SABC and for weighing in at this hour. Founder of Gift of the Givers, Dr. Imtiaz Sooliman, really was reflecting on the year that was, perhaps also looking forward to the year ahead, shining a spotlight on the hunger and acute situation in the Eastern Cape. We also discussed Gerco van Deventer's release and obviously the ongoing work in the Middle East. So we'll leave that conversation there for now.